Hello guys, welcome. On today's tutorial, we are going to show you how to carry out relative and absolute referencing in Excel. Excel uses referencing to maybe copy or duplicate formula, right? Good. So now we have scores of different students in a particular department called spiritual psychology. Now they have a CA of 30% and they have an exam of 70%, right? Good. So these were their scores for those different assessments. Now we want to have their total score, and for us to have the total score, we can say equal to the CA score plus the exam score, right? Good. And that gives us their total score. Now this score is actually over 100 because 70 plus 30 or 30 plus 70 is 100, right? Good. So if we want to get for every other student, because we just got for student 1, which is Shinaza. So if we want to get for every other student, we can decide to write it out manually, or we can just autofill, right? Good. Now when we autofill, what Excel does is that it references the first formula which we have written, which is B2 plus C2, and then it duplicates it down the column, right? Good. So if we try to click on this second total score, you would see that we still have what? B3 plus C3, right? Good. So now this process whereby Excel duplicates or maybe copies formula based on the defined pattern is the relative referencing, right? Good. And that's the way, or let's say the default way that cells are being referenced in formula, right? Good. Now if peradventure you don't want to duplicate it down this way, and then you want to use only the value in one cell, which is like 100 here, which is G2, right? Good. You want to use the value in G2 so that you know the percentage of each of the students, over 100. So if we come down to this particular cell, we say equal to this total score divided by 100, right? Good. So it has rightly given us 67%, right? Good. Now this 67% is the score of Shinaza in this particular course, which is spiritual psychology. So if you now want to do that for Adebayo, Fatima, BA, and the rest of that, you can still decide to drag it down. But when you do that, you are going to find out that there are some inconsistent values and then there is an error message. Now this is because we are only interested in 100%, not 150, not 200. Well, because when we try to autofill, Excel now referenced to this other cell because there's a value there. It gave us a percentage value. This other output, it referenced to this other cell. There's a value there. It gave us what? An answer. Then this other one now, there is no what? Value in that cell, which means it's not possible. So how do we now fix our formula so that it will only reference to this cell? The process of doing that is called absolute referencing. Now, it locks the cell reference so that it does not change when the formula is copied or moved, right? Good. So now, how do we do that? We are going to use what? The $ to lock this cell in this our formula, right? Good. So that when we are trying to copy or maybe autofill, the value does not change. So let's delete this. So the first instance is that we have 67%, which is quite all right. So we come up to this formula. Now, on Excel, your cell is being defined by the column, which is the alphabet, and the row, which is the number, right? Good. So our reference cell is in G2, right? Good. Which means it's actually on column G and then row 2. So it simply means that if you want to lock this cell so that the referencing will be to this particular cell absolutely, then you introduce what? A $ before G. The $ before G locks what? The column, right? Good. So that whenever you duplicate it, the value of the column will still remain the same. It does not go down the column. And then you come to 2, which is the row, and then you also lock it. Right, good. Now, this $ before G and the $ before 2 has now locked this cell in both column and row, so that whatever thing you are going to do, whatever reference you are going to make to this cell, and then duplicate it down to any range you have, it will not alter this value. So now let's click on enter. The first value will still remain the same because it's still referencing to 67 and 100. Now let's duplicate. You now see that we now have what? Some reasonable percentages, right? Good. So 64 over 100 is actually 64%. 76, which is this over 100, is 76%. So this is the process you can use to get relative referencing. That's when you want Excel to actually duplicate your formula without making reference to one absolute cell, or absolute referencing when you now want Excel to duplicate your formula, however making reference to what? One cell, right? Good. So for you to do that on both the row and the column, you ensure that you have the $ before the letter and also before the number, because that locks both the column and the row, so that the referencing will be absolute on both what? Column and row. So we have shown you on today's tutorial how to carry out relative and absolute referencing in Excel. So if this video, you find the video very helpful, you can subscribe to the channel, you can like the video and then share with your friends. You'd see more educative contents like this on the channel. We'll see you on the next tutorial. Have a very good time. Bye.